future is now.
Broadcasting from the Queen City, breaking down business, leadership, community, and family. Here's your host, the president and CEO of the Northern Cincinnati Foundation, Aaron Satzker.
The future is now.
Well, we are so excited to be here today from Prolink in Cincinnati, Ohio, with the Tony Munafo.
Here we are.
And I just want to talk about you, about your journey as a business.
Okay.
And kind of like, how was it born?
Wow, that's
It's a long question.
Yeah. So, let's see. What version do we want to tell? The short or long? So I will say, how did this all come about? So when my dad was 29 years old, he was diagnosed with cancer. He was given less than a year to live. And he sat us all down in our family room and said, here's the deal, I have cancer. At 4 years old, you really don't know what that means. But he said, I promise one thing, I won't give up until they close the lid on my coffin. And so he ended up living 10 years. And during those 10 years, he taught us drive, he taught us work ethic, he taught us perseverance. It was always his dream to start his own business. Now, his idea of a business was, buying a Subway franchise. There was a popsicle franchise that, we were part of. And, so he took us on this journey of my brother Mike and I, of when we beat cancer, we're going to start our own company. And so, like I said, he ended up living 10 years, and he passed away my first day of high school, freshman year at Moeller. And when I think back to legacy, I think back to his visitation. And there was a 3.5 hour line to get up to the casket. And people would come up and say, your dad was a wonderful man. He helped me send my daughter to school. He helped me pay credit cards off. He helped me buy a car. He helped me buy a house. And in the moment, I didn't totally understood what that meant.
Sure.
But as I look back, I think that was really the first example of my life when I thought about legacy. And for us, we were lower middle class. I mean, we just popped over the line. So it wasn't like he was giving people money. He didn't go to college. He worked for a trucking company. He started off loading trucks, got into sales, and then got into management. He was teaching people how.
And how is important.
And how is important. So it was teaching how to save, how to make sure that you live within a budget. And so, fast forward, I go to college at the University of Kentucky, come back and get started in the staffing industry. And so for me, my father was the hardest working man I knew.
Yeah.
He worked up until 2.5 months before he passed away. I never heard him once complain, why me? Why do I have cancer? It was living every day to the fullest. And so as I started progressing in my career at my former company, went from recruiting to sales into management. And I started struggling in management. And my struggle was more about, I was running 3 different operations, and they all had different cultures. One office I created from scratch. The other 2 offices I inherited. And the office in Dayton was a little bit more laid back. The office in Cincinnati really followed no rules, no processes, no procedures, no systems. So I was really struggling adjusting. And so during that period, I reached out to an individual that started Delta's private jet service and ran a national construction company. And I said, his name's Mike. I said, Mike, I know you run 2 different companies. I'm running this region right now. I'm really struggling with the cultures of these offices. Would you mentor me? And he said, yeah. And so we started meeting once a month. We would meet
Wonderful.
We would meet at the Bob Evans on Pfeiffer Road.
Yeah.
I sent him an agenda, at least 3 days prior to the meeting. And during those 18 months of him mentoring me, it was, you can't go through life managing like a jerk. It's important to know people for who they are, what their motivation is in life.
Right.
You got to manage everybody to the same expectation, but how you lead them is different depending on who they are as an individual.
Right. What motivates them?
What motivates them, right? And it's funny because, I really managed people up until that point the way I wanted to be managed.
Sure.
Which
makes sense, I think, as a young professional and you're leading this group. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, this is the way I want to be led. And people require different things. Some people like to be coached. Some people like affirmations. Some people need a little bit more guidance. Some people just want the freedom, and that's okay. It's important to understand what they want. So during that period, I got asked to relocate out to Washington, D.C. to take over a region out there. And I was telling my mentor that. I said, Mike, here's the deal. I got asked to move out to Washington, D.C. And he said, okay. He goes, what are you going to do? I said, well, it's a great opportunity. I'm going to take it. And he said, do you like what you do? I said, I love what I do. Mm-hmm. He said, are there things you would do differently? I said, yeah. He said, you need to start your own company. And,
wow.
And so for
great
me,
mentor.
It was like this tipping point. Again, my father's dream was, to start his own business when we beat cancer. Now, and I remember leaving that day, and I got in my car. I called my wife right away, and she said, how was your breakfast with Mike? I said, it was good. I said, I'm going to start my own company. And she said, okay, like when? Like tomorrow? And I said, no, not tomorrow. I got to put a business plan together. I got to put a pro forma together. She said, what industry? I said, well, staffing. It's what I love. Mm-hmm. When we started Prolink and started really putting the business plan together, at first it was about carrying out our father's legacy and his dream of starting his own business. As Mike and I put the business plan together, we realized it was much bigger than that.
Yeah.
It was, how do we create a vehicle for people to use to get where they want to go personally, professionally, financially, in creating their legacy?
Definitely.
And I think there's so many people and organizations that like you come in and it's like, here you are and here's your spot, and they confine you in a box. And I wanted to create something that was bigger than any one person. I wanted to create something that was a living, breathing thing that you had to tend to, mind, body, and spirit. But most importantly, I wanted to create something that people could view their own.
Sure. Like it's a work family. I would consider that a work family.
Exactly. I Mike and I talk all the time. We're not a family business. We're a business family.
Yeah.
And
I like that a lot.
Yeah. And it's like, this is where people can come in and use this as their vehicle to get wherever they want to go in life.
I mean, I think about you sharing that story with me, and it's pretty amazing. If you think about it, you came full circle, right? You had this hardship, I would say, as a young child, and then to lose your dad. But I love the fact that he was so positive. You know what I mean? Yeah. That he was never, and I think to me, that says that you received so much grit, both you and Mike and your family, and strength from him to take that next step.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I wonder, now, being a father, I have a 15-year-old and a 13-year-old, you sit there and I'm like, all right, behind the scenes, was he talking to my mom? Like, why me? But in front of all of us, it was a positive mindset. We will beat this. He turned to his faith tremendously. I mean, we all did. But it's like, here is this individual's cross that he's carrying. Cancer, was given less than a year to live. He lived 10 years, and every day he's making the most of it.
Yeah, it's so unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I have to say to our listeners that I know your mother pretty well. I've known her for maybe 10 or 15 years. And I also think I see that just in your family overall, like this positive spirit, that you will take any bad and make good out of it. And so I kind of want to highlight Sheila, and we're going to bring in your mother, since I just had a phone conversation with her about the Companions on a Journey golf outing. And I guess when did you get involved with philanthropy? Because I feel like it's been a while, right, for your family.
It's been a while. My mom started Companions on a Journey over 25 years ago, and it was, she prayed a lot. And it was like, through my pain, what can I do? And, she felt a calling that she needs to help other people in their time of grief. And unfortunately, we're all impacted by death.
Yes.
And so from an early stage, I mean, even thinking back to my father, my sister went to Mount Notre Dame.
Best school in Cincinnati.
That's right. Well, I remember Mount Notre Dame sent her tuition check back.
Wow. That's amazing. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And they said, hey, you're good. And so, I think you have these different points in life. And I think sometimes during those points, maybe you don't recognize it until you look back. And I'm like, here's this school that sent a tuition check back. I remember my mom and dad being in the kitchen, and I think it was $3,000. And they're like, can you believe they just returned this? And when we grew up, we were living really tight.
Yeah.
And so, seeing my mom and the amount of people that she has helped and seeing the amount of people that Companions on a Journey has helped has certainly influenced me. It's hard for me to understand how they do what they do every single day because they go into really, really challenging situations where people need them. And we've used COJ here at Prolink, unfortunately, but fortunately we have them to turn to. And so, for me, I think you have to embrace the community. I think you have to give back to the communities that you live and serve in.
I think 100% agree.
I think without the communities, there wouldn't be a Prolink. Like the community has embraced us. And so as we've had successes, it's our civic responsibility to give back to all the communities that we live and serve in throughout the country. Now, for me, I was impacted by my father's death. So, going to grief counseling was something that really helped me. What I have learned is all of us have our own story.
We do.
All of us have our own situations that have created us to who we are today.
Hardships, really.
Yeah, exactly.
And they make you a better person and more, I think, empathetic toward everyone and their stories and their struggles and everyone. They have a battle that they're fighting, and either they've overcome it or they're in it, and I think it's really important. I love that you shine light on that because it's good to have a heart for the community, the employees, and just again, it's like it's a team, right? Yeah. Well, and I think about the Prolink family, and our family here is our clients, our external talent, our internal team. And going back to everybody has their own story. Yeah, for Mike and I, the story is losing our father, part of the story. Right. But everybody here has something. One of our vice presidents' nephews suffers from autism. And, you have others that unfortunately have had younger family members battle with cancer. And it's how can we, as the Prolink family, rally around them? Yeah. And at the same time, look at what organizations are supporting them because, Prolink might not be equipped to give them what they need in terms of tools and resources, but fortunately there's a lot of philanthropies in the area. Yes, definitely. That can help and support them. And so for us here at Prolink, it's really important that we all come together and support those organizations who oftentimes are underfunded. They are working exhausting hours. They are. Because it's their passion. It's their calling in life. Right. And I have so much admiration for those people. Yeah, it really is. And those people firsthand and how much, they pour into those organizations. And I will say as the Northern Cincinnati Foundation, I love that we get to work with everybody because that's what we do, right? Is we're a funder, we're a resource, and we make grants to anyone from Companions on a Journey to, autism or cancer or seniors, walkability, bikeability, like we do it all. And I love that, that everyone has something that they want to give back to. I find that the CEO and corporation community in Cincinnati is so philanthropic. I will say that I'm so just amazed by how much they lead by giving back. And I love to hear that you're getting involved as your Prolink family and giving back to these other areas that they are also passionate about. Yeah. I think that's amazing. It's a good culture that you're creating and teaching them to be good community members as well, pour into those passions that they have for philanthropy. Well, I think it's important because, we're all in this community together. We're all in this world together. And one of our core values is linked by empathy. And it's a great core value, by the way. It really is. I don't know how you came up with that one, but I'm like, wow, I'm impressed. Strategic planning. That was a good one. Strategic planning. That was a good one. Well, it was one of those things years ago where we brought 43 leaders in and we had the standard core values, integrity, work ethic. Right. And then it was like, okay, well, who are we really? Right. And we just started writing all these different words on the board of, who we are and what we represent. And then fortunately our marketing department, took all these words and it came in. It's like linked by empathy. If you
really think about it, we're all linked by the experiences that we have in life. And what I want Prolink to be is a place where people can get vulnerable and open up and share things about their individual self.
Definitely.
That maybe that they never would. And I think by bringing that out, it encourages other people to get more vulnerable, and it creates connections, because suddenly it's like, wow, Aaron went through that too. I would have never have guessed that.
That's right.
And now I can call Aaron and talk to her and be like, hey, when you shared your story today,
Right.
I can relate to you. And I'm going through a tough time, or I've been there. And I think that's what life's all about, is sharing experiences. And as somebody's going through their own trials and tribulations, you reach your hand out and you help them out, or you find the right organization that can support them, because they're all around us. And
They are. It's just truly great. And I love to hear that. I'm going to break it up a little bit though. I want to throw you a curveball. No, it's not really a curveball, but there are no curveballs here. But I know exactly. I want to talk about, how do you start your day? Like, give me this is what I love to ask all the entrepreneurs that sit down, and everyone has a different start of the day, end of the day. So tell me a typical day in the life as CEO.
Yep. So I'm a creature of habit. I wake up every morning and I'll either run or I'll work out with a trainer.
Okay.
For me,
how far do you go?
So
former cross-country runner over
just
here.
Don't ask
Watch
my time.
out. I won't. After 40, we don't ask times after 40.
Yes. I've noticed through the years, I'm like, man, my time is just getting worse and worse. I tell myself I'm more
out there.
I'm more in a relaxation state of running.
That's right.
I'm not stressing my body as I get older. I'll go anywhere between 3 to 5 miles, depending on how much time I have. Minimum would be 3.
Wow.
And
it's actually very impressive.
Well,
I was thinking 1,
by the way I look?
Yeah. No.
Oh my gosh. I have
Keep going.
I have emotions here. So, for me, running is, it clears my head. So I will tell you this. When I run, so I'm super faithful. I say a rosary every morning, why I run. And the reason why I do that, it just helps, it helps calm me. Mm-hmm. If I'm in a situation where I don't work out that morning, I can feel that I'm a little edgy. And so for me, working out is kind of like my personal time to kind of invest in myself.
Yeah.
And also just provide some mental clarity. From there, I get finished working out. And then I'll see my kids, and then I'll typically get into the office anywhere between like 7:45, 8 o'clock. And then we have meetings throughout the day, so
right.
It's, once the day kind of starts, the day pretty much flies by. I will try to find times, most meetings that I do, I try to keep them to about 50 minutes. Mm-hmm. So I can at least have like 10 minutes in between the next meeting.
Sure.
Because what I don't want to do is, if I'm in a intense meeting, I need to give myself a little bit of time so I don't bring that intensity into the next meeting.
Yeah, the energy.
Yeah, and so it's one of those things where I used to, every meeting was, an hour.
It's probably good advice for me, frankly.
But you just never know, because if you're dealing with like a hard situation or a tough topic or a tough decision, it's really not fair for the next meeting for you to carry that energy over.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So for me, I find, okay, well, I'm going to give myself 10 minutes. I'll go get a cup of coffee. Even though everybody makes fun of me, I drink decaf coffee.
Yeah, that's what you said.
5 years ago, I gave up caffeine.
I'm so impressed.
But I still like coffee. I like the taste of it. I used to always wonder, my 90-year-old grandmother would always drink decaf. And I'm like, here I am, 44, drinking coffee.
Decaf. Yeah. Why are they doing that?
Yeah. And so, from there,
mm-hmm.
I meet with our operations leader. So I oversee all the operations. And then my brother oversees all of our new verticals or any kind of acquisitions that we do. And I like the puzzle of operations. I like working with the people. I like the process. I like the systems. I'm more of an analytical type person. I love getting in front of the customer, but I really am passionate about the operations side of things.
Yeah, and I can see that in your personality,
And then no, Mike, you can see that in hips.
I can. I 100% can.
And then, from there, if I, typically 2 to 3 nights a week, I'll have a dinner with a client or a vendor that we're working with. If I don't, then I make sure I'm going to any of my kids, sporting events, or tonight I don't have anything. So my youngest and I are going to go hit some golf balls together. So I just,
that'll be great.
Yeah. I just try to find family to me is everything. So,
Yes.
Especially losing your father when you're young. So it's like, I want my boys to, feel my presence in their life, and making sure that I'm telling them I love them every day. And anytime that, I have an opportunity to spend with them, I want to make sure that I do that. So
Makes sense. I love that. I like that you start your day with that. I mean, I myself am the same way. If I don't work out, even my family is like, did you not run today? Are you okay? You need to get in a workout.
Yes.
So I think that is a really good mental clarity thing for, frankly, anyone, just to help your mind focus and get ready for the day.
I think it's good. Even my wife, actually, she can tell if I come home and I'm edgy. Mm-hmm. She's like, why don't you go for a run?
Yeah.
Or why don't you go for a walk? And I think it's about forming good habits, versus bad. I tell everybody who starts here, I'm like, listen, this is a new chapter in your life. You can start great habits now. And how do you invest into yourself? Because you only get one you.
Yeah.
And for me, when I went to college, I didn't really take college overly serious. Mm-hmm. I was a communication major.
I was too, actually.
You were?
Yeah, I think same thing, honestly.
Yeah, it'd be like, hey, get up and talk about this coffee. I'm like, okay, sounds good.
Sure, we've got this.
Yeah, we got it. It wasn't until after I got out of college where suddenly I started thinking like, oh my gosh, there's only one me. Who cares more about me than me? Mm-hmm. Well, clearly my mom cares a lot. My wife cares a lot, but it's me.
Right.
And so how do I invest into myself? And so then I started looking at, okay, who am I surrounding myself by? Mm-hmm. Am I surrounding myself by people that are cheering me on? Right. Am I surrounding myself by people that are helping me push me forward, and whatever forward means? Mm-hmm. Or am I surrounding myself by people that are pulling me back? And what I found was I certainly had positive people around me, but I also had some people around me that were negative.
Yeah.
And I find that negative people want to pull positive people into their pity party.
They really do.
And so it comes a decision where it's like, okay, can I help convert them a little bit to be positive, or do I just need to move forward?
Right.
And so from there, when you surround yourself by good people personally, professionally, then you start saying, okay, well, what am I doing to evolve myself? Mm-hmm. What am I reading? Am I reaching out and getting mentors?
Yeah. I think that is so important, to have a good mentor, and just know that if, leadership is tough.
It is tough.
Leadership is so tough, and it feels so lonely sometimes when you make really tough decisions that are the right decisions.
Yeah.
I think it is good to have that resource that they've been through that. They've been through the trenches and weathered the storm.
Yeah, weather the storm. We had a saying a few years ago called "Into the Storm."
Okay,
because it was.
Look at this! I know your culture.
I know. I love it. Well, it was. COVID was. Just all over the country, and everybody was stressed out. And over the course of 3 weeks, we put 3,000 people to work. And at the time, our entire payroll was 3,000 people. So we doubled in a 3-week period. And I remember on a Saturday morning, we had mid-level managers and some of our executives on this call. And Matt Franke had this T-shirt on that said, "Into the Storm." And I said, "Matt, what's into the storm mean?" And he said, well, American bison, buffalo, when a storm comes, they herd up together and they put their head down and they run into the storm as fast as they can to get out on the other side even quicker.
Wow.
And so
I like that.
Yeah. I mean, I have goosebumps just thinking about it.
Yeah.
But it's that became our mantra, like into the storm. Like, we don't know what's happening in this pandemic, but all we know is it's our responsibility to help provide support.
Right.
And that in our way was making sure that we were sending clinicians all over the country. Mm-hmm. And so it wasn't about, where can the company grow to, or
sure.
It was about, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And our goal here at Prolink, it's not about being the biggest. It's about being the best. It's about being the best for our clients. It's about being the best for our talent. It's about being best for our internal team and making sure that we're giving them all the tools and resources that they need to be great and accomplish whatever it is. And partly, I think too, it's about giving people time back by giving them tools and resources, giving them time back either to invest in their job or giving them time back personally and where they can spend it with their friends and family. You know, we talked about mentor. I think that's one really neat thing about this whole greater Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky community is there are so many really good leaders in our communities that are willing to help out, that are willing to go above and beyond. And, you know, I encourage anybody that's listening that if they don't have a mentor, you know, reach out and find one. But understand too, like, what do you want to accomplish by having a mentor? Like, where do you want to go personally, professionally, and financially? Like, what is your short-term, mid-term, long-term goals? Because in order for a mentor to really have true impact, you need to start thinking about those things. And maybe it's not totally clear, but that mentor can help you clear the fog to say, okay, here's where you want to go, short-term, mid-term, long-term, and here's the pathway to get there.
Yeah. Into the storm.
Into the storm.
I'm obsessed with that now.
I know. We have a painting downstairs of Heart of Buffalo. I have one at my house.
I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
It's great. I'm going to think about that all the time. You know, and honestly, I think just listening to people, maybe someone in your lives, like in your life and advice. And I laugh. This is one that I'm like, wow, this really got me. You know, how family, they see you. And recently my sister said to me, and she's not obviously one of my mentors. I mean, love you, sister.
We love you.
We love you. You're great. But she said to me,
maybe she won't listen.
Yeah, she listens actually. But she said to me something, and I kind of laugh because this is how my brain works. But she goes, you know, Erin, for tasks that you don't like to accomplish, you know what I mean, that you put off, because I'm such a morning person over a night person, like do those right after your workout, like get those. And so I've been like living that. And I was like, this has changed my life for the things that I would like, not like even household chores. Frankly, if you're doing a workout in your basement at 5 a.m., I'm like, all right, I'm going to finally fold these 6 loads of laundry because this is my time, you know?
Exactly.
And it's just good to have people, I think, that lift you up around you, whoever that is.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, you know, having people around you that can lift you up. Listen, we all get down, you know, and
100%.
And having those people around us that recognize when we're down or that we can reach out to when we are down. I mean, you know, as we've grown this company, there's people in this community that I've reached out to because as a CEO, I'm facing new things that I haven't faced before. Yeah. And so, you know, fortunately there's people in our networks that, you know, I can call and say, hey, I need help. And I have found this community to be so great about that. They're like, well, I'll come over to your office and sit down. And I'm like, wow, I can't believe this individual is taking
it's Cincinnati
2 hours out of their day.
Right.
And they don't even know me that well to help me sort through this problem, because I think that's the power of Cincinnati is everybody is rooting for each other.
They are.
I mean, even our competitors in this market, you know, I have good relationships with our 2 top competitors and I cheer them on, you know, and there's plenty of opportunity.
We do as well, actually. And I think that that's just good, right? It's like a best practice. You want them to be good too, right? What's the fun in that if they're not also there at the same level?
Yeah.
So I want to touch on
another curveball.
No more. Well, we could do that. We could do another curveball. We do have a, you know what? I think now you're asking.
Is my mom walking in here shortly?
I think we should have brought on Sheila. Sheila definitely
she can get me to cry.
Here. I think Sheila can get anyone to cry, honestly. She's amazing. So one question we have been asking other CEOs is, and have you heard of this term bug out bag? Do you know what a bug out bag is? Okay. So
is that
we
like
asked
hip thing.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how hip it is,
what
or
is it
a bug out bag. So it's like it's like apocalyptic times and doomsday is happening, and the world is ending, and you have a bug out bag, and you can bring 4 things, Tony, in that bug out bag.
Wow.
What 4 things? And we've asked a lot of people this, and we have really gotten a variety from, especially those YPOs in the Cincinnati area. And I love hearing what people would bring. So what would you bring?
what would I bring in my bug out bag?
Yeah.
What would you bring in yours?
I mean, no one's asking that. God.
The interviewee just flipped it on the interviewer.
Man. Wow. I don't even.
All right. I'll go first.
All right.
What do you think? See, now you know what it's like.
I do. It's rough. Definitely cab soft, but keep going.
All right. I love music.
Yes.
I'm a huge Deadhead. So if I had,
Are you really?
Yes.
See, this is why we ask these questions.
So I would. So the Europe 1972 playlist by the Grateful Dead is my all-time favorite.
Oh my gosh.
So I would definitely make sure that was in my bug out bag because if I was sitting there or walking or whatever, I would definitely want to play it. And that's actually one thing that I do. Like on the way home, typically I'm playing either that or reggae or some sort of country music.
Okay. I feel like I know you so much better now. Keep going.
Well, it's funny. My first boss, when I was in sales, I'm driving my Toyota Camry, and it's back when, cars had CD players in them. And he's like, let's see what you listen to, just to kind of chill yourself out. And, he was a pretty formal person, and he hit play, and I had a Bob Marley album in there, and he looks at me and goes, should I be worried about you? I said, I don't think so.
You're becoming an investor in other industries, but keep going. Yes.
All right. So let's see. Wow. Bug out bag.
Yeah. We've tackled one. I like this one. This is new.
So, music would be good. I like to fish. So I'd probably bring a fishing rod.
Yeah.
You got to eat, right?
Yeah, you do. 100%.
How long am I gone for?
I mean, it's the apocalypse. It could be the world could be ending in 24 hours. You could have hope. I don't know. I've heard it all. I've heard every scenario from these CEOs. It gets very interesting.
All right. So fishing pole, music. I enjoy a good cigar, so I probably would bring some cigars just to relax my mental state. I like to read, so I would probably bring some sort of book just to because TV's not working. I don't watch a ton of TV anyway, but I probably would bring something to read.
I think that makes sense. Hopefully it's not like 1984 or something like that.
Well, the one thing I didn't think about too, hopefully with I probably need matches for the cigars, right? So I think those just kind of
Are you a Boy Scout? I guess that's the question. Are you a Boy Scout? Oh my goodness.
I was in Cub Scouts for a year and I don't think I made the cut.
Yeah, my bug out bag. I think that's a hard one. I'm like, no one's ever asked me that. I would probably bring a nice bottle of Cab Sauv. So like a bottle of Farniente.
Yeah.
Let's get that going.
Yeah, you got to get that going.
I would probably. I don't know. It's hard. I guess matches.
Yep, you got to have
right matches. Or a lighter. I guess that's more strategic. I don't know how long we have on this planet.
Bug spray.
Yeah, actually, bug spray and probably like a Glock or something.
A Glock.
I mean, if I had to be honest, I think I would grab. Yeah, probably my Glock would make it in the bug out bag. So yeah,
I was thinking I would just like grab a stick and make a spear or something.
I mean, you could do that, but
I guess you would need a knife.
That. Yeah, you would need probably a knife. Yeah. But luckily, things are great.
Yes.
And we don't have to worry about that. But I like hearing yours. And if you listen up, I think we might make a compilation here of everyone's and their answer because it's all been so uniquely different.
Yes.
And some are really funny and some are like, wow, this guy's going to lead a village. You know what I mean? This is scary over here.
And some people have already really thought about this and they're like the doomsday preppers.
Actually, yes.
Yes.
That is actually right.
I have some family members that they're like, what are you going to do on doomsday? I'm like, I don't think that's going to happen.
Right. I'm not prepped for it.
They're like, well, what if it does happen? I'm like, I'll probably just drive to your house.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so glad you're prepared.
I know.
Well, as far as I kind of want to dive a bit more into leaving a legacy. I heard you talk about legacy and what is your legacy for Prolink. And then also like on the philanthropy side and, whether it's COJ and just like your impacts. Yeah. Have you thought about that on leaving a legacy, I guess, as far as Prolink and what your, motivations are there?
Yep. So with Prolink, the biggest thing for me was creating a vehicle, creating something that was bigger than any one person. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to create something that even when I'm gone and, whether it's retirement or even the next stage in life,
Right.
That Prolink continues to move on.
Yeah.
And so from the beginning, we really thought about that. And I love Prolink, and this is what I want to do for the rest of my career. And,
Right.
As long as Prolink has me, I feel very fortunate to be a part of this team. And I feel like it's my responsibility every single day to serve the Prolink family.
Sure.
And so when I think about Prolink's legacy, I want us to be the leader in workforce solutions throughout the country, in healthcare and non-clinical roles. We provide contingent labor, we provide direct placement, recruiting process outsource, we provide analytics, we provide technology. I really want organizations to feel that they can come for us for whatever their needs are. And I also want people to feel like they can come to us and we can listen to them and we can understand. And we don't force people ever into a role that's not the right role for them.
Right.
And everybody has a voice. And I think it's important to really hear that voice in terms of what they want and internally as well. And I always tell everybody this. I think we have three customers. We have our clients, we have our external talent that works for us, and we have our internal team. And it's important to listen to those three different voices to say, okay, what do you need? What do you want? And then how do we create alignment between those three different customers, which ultimately, when you have alignment, then you have harmony and you have success. Now, it's a balance.
Sure.
For sure. Yeah. And then, for us, I want to make sure that we are impacting all of the communities. And when I talk about, our goal is not to be the biggest, I really believe that. Our goal is just to be the best. And you will never hear us stand on stage and say we're number one, or we will always walk into everything with a sense of humility because we're going to remember where we came from. And
that's so important, by the way. I find that so important with people just in general, to remember your humble beginnings.
Yeah, because, this company was built oftentimes with our backs against the wall, where we're looking at something and saying, how are we going to do this? And I think there's two types of people, and I think there's two types of companies. I think there are organizations and people that no matter what, they will get to the solution. And then I think there's the other side where they will make excuses of why they can't get to the result.
Yes.
And oftentimes, when I'm in those kind of situations where you hear people like, well, here's why it can't happen. I'm like, well, how can it happen? Like,
sure.
let's make it. It's a choice.
Let's be positive and figure out how to get there.
And I think the same thing in life. I think, people have situations that they face and it's like, oh, I can't do that because of whatever reason. Right. Or you even hear our friends or family members. It's like, well, I can't get promoted because my boss is only a year older than me. Or I can't make that team. And it's like, well, yes, you can if you put the effort in.
Right.
And you stay disciplined to it every single day, you can really achieve whatever you want. Yes, life's going to throw us curveballs. And that's okay. It's how we respond to those curveballs. Mm-hmm. And I think it's important to take a step back when we are thrown some sort of adversity and you learn from it and then you apply it to yourself to the next situation moving forward. So, when I think about Prolink and the legacy, I really want Prolink to be a place that helps people achieve whatever their desires are in life. And I think that's the commonality with everybody that is involved in the Prolink family. Definitely. Is all of us have some sort of story. I don't think any of us were born on third base or anything. It was, we all are trying to make a difference. Definitely. And I think, people want to be a part of a winning team. People want to be a part of something that has a higher vision, mission, and purpose. And they want to be a part of something that gives back.
I agree.
And
the ethos, by the way, I have to say, just like the ethos of all of Prolink in general is so positive out there, like in the philanthropic community, in the Cincinnati community. So I think job well done on just holding you there to the thought of living in the gain. That's right. Living in the gain, not the gap, right? Yes. You're thinking about, okay, look at all these gains. Look what we've accomplished together as the Prolink family, like what a positive ethos, and let's just live in that gain. And I think then it just, right, it keeps multiplying at that point.
Exactly. And with the successes that Prolink as an organization has had, what excites me the most about that is it means we can do more.
Yes.
And so when I see that our philanthropic numbers in terms of money that we've donated, it increases year over year, that excites me. And the thing that I like the most is, as an organization, we all come together and we vote on
that's so great.
what's important to us. It's not because Mike and I, again, we could say, okay, no matter what. Now, listen, we will always support Canadians on a journey because we believe in it.
Absolutely should.
And I do not want my mom to be mad at me, but it's an unbelievable cause.
Yeah,
but,
it is.
But everybody has their situation,
Yes.
and going back to that again. So I don't know what it's like, in certain situations. And so when I hear people's stories and we push it out to the company in terms of saying, okay, what's important to you all that we support?
Yeah.
Even like,
it's so great when businesses do that, by the way. Like I know so many that are like you that kind of get them involved and they'll even like vote on it or, it's just like, it creates like exciting camaraderie on this is what we're going to do this year, or these are the different causes that we've heard from you all on. And I think it's exciting. It's
exciting. And then, as we go around the country or we're here in Cincinnati and, people talk about, how they're on the board of that philanthropy. I'm like, that is really neat. Not only they are making their own personal impact because it's reciprocal, not only donating money, but like donating time. And I find whenever I donate time, I get something out of it as well.
You do. You get like the dopamine kick, which honestly, it does feel good to like give your knowledge on top of, treasure, frankly, is important too, right? Like it is important to support those causes.
Without
you need
a doubt.
people to, our founders of the foundation would always say, like the foundation, right? But who's buying the soup, right? Like, and that's the community foundation they have donors that are paying for that, but then people are volunteering. And I think you're talking about that level as well.
Yeah.
And I think both levels are super important. And even if people don't have the monetary, dollars to give, they can still give their talent and time, which is huge to organizations as well.
Yep. I totally agree. When I think about when you said like, personal legacy, my thing is I just want people to believe in themselves. I want people to believe that they can achieve anything they want in life. If they surround themselves by great people, they have a good plan, they refuse to give up, and they work relentlessly into the storm.
Yes.
They can achieve it. And for me with my kids, my family is, my proudest accomplishment. I want to teach my boys that they can do anything they want in life. If they want to be a violinist, I want them to be the best violinist. Their measuring stick is not me. Their measuring stick is not my brother, Mike. Their measuring stick is themselves. And so what do they want to accomplish and how do they get there? And to me, it doesn't matter what they want to do or become, as long as they have a goal or a passion, then run after that.
Yeah.
And understand how to get there.
I think that's truly important. And I love that you're like, to me, that's so wise on you saying like, hey, I should not be your measuring stick. Mike should not be your measuring stick. You should be your measuring stick. And again, I think it goes into being appreciative as your own person on the accomplishments, right, that you achieve.
I think so. And I think, so many people spend so much time comparing themselves to other people.
Yes.
And it's just like, man, if I was like her, my life would be great. Well, you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes with her.
No, you have no idea what their life
is
like.
Okay, well, she can influence you in terms of, best practices or experiences. But what do you want?
Right.
It reminds me of the, Matthew McConaughey. I think he won like a Golden Globe or something. That was like, there's three things in life. It's like, one thing I look up to, that's God. One thing I look forward to, that's my family. One thing I chase is the best version of myself in 10 years. And I think if the world thought a little bit more that way of like, how do I develop me into the best version of myself?
Yeah.
I think about like, gosh, how much more impact we could have across the country. And so when I think about my kids, my family, the Prolink family, it's like, man, if we could help them accomplish that,
right,
it's amazing.
It is amazing. I don't know. I think that's such great advice. Honestly, it even sitting across from you at this table, I think, wow, that is right. And I liked hearing kind of what you shared about staying in staffing. You love staffing. You just knew that this was the path.
Yep.
I think that that's inspirational too. And that's a really good message for the Cincinnati business community and philanthropy community. I mean, as far as, when I think about me and my life, I just love philanthropy so much.
Yeah.
It's what gets me out of bed and keeps me going. And I just find it fulfilling to help other people and, just everyone creating their own plan for their legacies. That's what we do. And it's just been so fun.
Yeah.
And everyone likes something different.
Everybody likes something different. And, listen, Prolink has been around for over 12 years now. And along the way, I've had so many different opinions of you should sell, you should go public, And I said to myself, one day I'm like, you know what? They don't get to choose.
Yeah.
Mike and I get to choose what. And Mike and I, fortunately, are in total alignment that this is what we want to do forever.
Right.
And we want to hold and keep Prolink private, and we want to continue to keep moving forward to provide people opportunities to create their own legacy.
I think it's wonderful.
And my fear is anybody else comes in, they take that away. And because what they're trying to do is drive it to be number one or the biggest,
Definitely.
And I always say, I will pull the reins back on revenue growth if I think the culture is getting disrupted.
Yeah.
Because you get one opportunity to build something the right way.
Yes.
And we've all been a part of organizations that has red tape and bureaucracy.
Right. Or difficult founders.
Yeah. Or difficult
that's
founders.
That's a normal story in nonprofit and in the business world.
The best thing that ever happened to me was our vice president, our corporate controller, Jacqueline, fired me from the accounting department.
Yeah.
And I literally tell the story all the time. They're like, what's one of the most important lessons? I was like, stick to what you're good at. Yeah. And surround yourself by people with different skill sets and abilities and attributes, and your organization is going to go. I remember reading a book, and it talked about, a lot of founder-led organizations typically don't grow because the founder gets blinded by loyalty, and they also can try to control the process and everything, every decision that's made. And so when Jacqueline fired me, it made me think about the book by Jim Collins, Built to Last.
I love that book, by the way.
It's a great book, right? So it's like, all right, well, what's one thing that I need to continue to do? What's one thing that I should stop doing? And what's something that I'm not doing that I need to start doing altogether?
Yes.
And so every year I think about that.
Yeah.
And then I think about it as an organization as well. It's like, all right, who do we have on the team? Who do we not have on the team? Who do we need to get on the team to help continue to move us forward?
Absolutely.
And so what Prolink has become, this, business family is made up of a plethora of leaders that are making decisions every day that are all aligned to one common vision to move forward. And we're a people-centric, purpose-driven organization, and we'll never lose that.
Absolutely. Well, I have to say this, but before we close out here, I could honestly say that both Sheila and your father, Vince, would be unbelievably proud of what you've done here, both you and Mike.
Thank you.
And it's just tremendous. And I appreciate your time today. So thank you for coming on the What Gives podcast with Northern Cincinnati Foundation.
Well, thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
To learn more about how to expand your philanthropy, please reach out to the Northern Cincinnati Foundation. What Gives is produced and distributed by King Hightower Strategies.